Yes, we are in live. Sindhu, you can start.
Yeah. A very good afternoon to one and all present here. You know what? Education is the most powerful thing and it can influence anything in this world, as Sir Nelson Mandela has rightly said. And change is the only thing which is never going to change at all. And you know what? Matram ondre maradadu, as Arinyar Anna said. Technology is one such factor which helps to changing anything in this world. And beyond the technology and behind the technology, the world is also running around. And this technology makes the learning things very easier nowadays. And sharing the knowledge is also it's been like very extensive in this world also. I am Sindhuja. With this note, I'm starting my session. Assistant Professor from the Department of Computer Applications, welcoming you all. Now I welcome Dr. K. Selvam, Additional HOD, MCA, to start off the session and to render the welcome address. Dr. Selvam, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome. Every team members and every delegates are being in the line. I am Dr. K. Selvam, Additional HOD, PG Studies of this university. On behalf of the department and for this faculty development program, I want to extend that MCA study of our institution has been started in 1993 when it was under the affiliation of Madras University. And after that, the same course was conducted by the same institution in this banner of Anna University, Chennai. Then we came to, in 2003, we came to this deemed university status and we started continuing the same. Moreover, in 2013, we have started the UG courses also with animation technology. So now we are having more than 1,300 every year intake for almost all the computer application courses, including researchers. So I welcome Dr. Radha Ramavan to introduce our guest speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. K. Selvam, sir. Over to you, Radha, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a great privilege and pride for me to introduce Mr. Mohan. I'll tell you what is the reason behind it after his brief introduction about his expertise and his experience and all. Mr. Mohan Gandhi Saravanan is an IBM certified senior IT architect, and he's a specialist in the integration, and is an integration expert in the integration expert labs in IBM's hybrid cloud group. He has got a proven track record of architecture and implementation of SOA, that is service-oriented architecture, for numerous client environments, mostly banking, pharmaceutical, automotive manufacturing, insurance industries, and government agencies. Mohan has deep expertise in architecture, planning, and design of highly available systems. He also specializes in design and implementation of enterprise service bus (ESB) using various middleware products such as WebSphere App Server, IBM Integration Bus, WebSphere MQ products. Today he is going to speak on middleware technologies. Of course, middleware technologies everybody knows, but implementation or deployment of middleware technology is not that much easy as we all speak or as we all teach or as we all learn. So implementation part is going to take very briefly, and he's going to give a very good session on that. I hope so that he will satisfy all our expectations. And as I said before, I would give more intro on him. Basically, that is He is my classmate, schoolmate, when we were in 8th standard class, standard 8, 9, and 10. We were all same. We were studying in the same school, same class, and I am seeing him in virtual media after 20 years. So it's a great privilege for me. I'm able to contact him again, and he accepted our invitation. And we are much privileged, Mr. Mohan, to have your session here for our department. I thank you once again, and I would like to carry on your session. I'm handing over the session to you now. Thank you.
That's a great introduction, Radha. Thank you very much. You're really generous in the comments. Thanks for that. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning here in Atlanta. So basically, my name is Mohan Gandhi Saravanan. I'm based off of Atlanta here in US, and I work for IBM. And basically, I've been working for IBM in my career for the past 25 years, off and on. In my current role, I started almost 15 years back. Prior to that, I did a short gig here in a local top 10 bank, Centrus Bank here in Atlanta, Georgia. So today I'm going to basically talk about middleware technologies and enterprise service bus and what is the trending right now. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen, share my screen. So that way we'll go from there. I'm almost there. Radha, just confirm you can see my screen with the presentation, please. Or anyone who can confirm it?
Yes, sir, you can continue. Yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So this is my introduction page. Now for the agenda for the topic is, well, overview, and we are going to basically talk about what type of mission critical topologies as samples we are going to look at. And then we are going to talk about what are all the middleware tools and in use in there, and then conclusion, and we'll go at the question and answer session at the end. So to start off, what do you mean by integration, right? So when you talk about integration of different disparate systems, so this is actually your basically application to application communication between many logical endpoints, right? From the distributor system to the mainframe to the mid-range system. Nowadays, from in terms of IoT, and then from other handheld devices to the backend system. So those are all the things where the application to application communication. So under the covers, what it uses? It uses MQ in the 7-layer network, and basically TCP/IP or any type of HTTP and FTP other protocols in the field. And from the message formats, like when you look at the integration of systems, you see different sets of message formats, like for example, XML or other type of comma separated value CSV, or in the business, where we basically, when we talk to mainframe systems, you send COBOL copybooks, or even to plain old C, or other type of user defined. So when you talk about EDI data, or in a banking sector, one bank sends to another bank using a SWIFT message. So like if somebody doing a money transfer, they're all basically going under SWIFT messages, which is an industry standard for any of the money transfer type messages. Those are all user. Some additional things like HL7, other are financial or the healthcare type formats in there. And the integration is using these endpoints in different meaningful ways. So what kind of ways it does, right? So when somebody is sending a message, it basically acts as a routing system, which basically routes data from one system to another. And then it could do a transformation. So what do you mean by transformation? So when you send me a XML to the integration system, it understands that XML, and then it converts that XML to COBOL copybook, or map, meaning mapping that to a COBOL copybook, or to a SWIFT message, or to a EDI, and then sending to the backend system like that. And other things are like filtering data, and then basically monitoring any type of poison messages coming in here, and not to basically disturb the existing enterprise data interchange. And then different sets of patterns of messages, like you fire and forget type messages, or you have a request reply type messages, or in terms of other things like publish, and one person publish a message and multiple receivers are subscribing to these messages. And then to some extent by event processing as well. So those are all the core areas in the integration. And some examples of topologies in this case. So one is like a bridge, like one system to one. So like it's a very simple point-to-point connection, wherein an ATM machine, which is actually connected to a system in the bank, and it's just one way, both ways obviously, but basically it communicates to that system. That's all it knows, right? It's like that. And then as a gateway, so you're sending messages to an enterprise service bus, and then enterprise services bus basically routes these messages out depending upon what you coded in the payload of the message. And then that is basically going or routed to the different sets of backend systems, say for example to Oracle database, or to a DB2 database, or to a mainframe system like that. Otherwise, basically, we call this as an enterprise service bus, where it acts as one layer above the TCP/IP, and then basically everything is network packets, but the enterprise service bus understands a little bit more than that. So it understands the data and then log construct, and it basically based off of the service-oriented architecture. So anybody who is actually a producer, and then there is a consumer, and similar patterns like that. So another example of integration topologies. In here, basically, I included this slide. So basically give you what constitutes, different things constitutes, since we talked about architecture a little bit over. So in terms of different message formats, in terms of different languages to be used, in terms of protocols it can use, in terms of any type of cloud or appliances it can be deployed, or what type of pattern like a request reply or a fire and forget. So this is basically Internet of Things and MQTT, telemetry, transport, or in the languages sections, you could do many types of languages like C, C++, Java, C#, PHP, Perl. Many of these you could use to do a IBM messaging. And then any type of payload, like in this case, you could have an XML message, or you can have a web services SOAP messages, or you can do a JSON messages, or you could do a copybook, or you can just attach MIME attachments like a zip file or a PDF or even an image and a CSV files in terms of the formats. And from the low latency type messages, like you could do a request reply. So basically you put a message into the messaging system and you turn back and then wait on a message or a reply message on a reply queue like that. So, and then fire and forget, like they're all called from the messaging standpoint, datagram messages. So wherein you basically send a message and you just go on. It's basically applications to application communication, right? And then in this case, we also have appliances where instead of deploying it to our one system, you purchase appliance which you basically deploy your messaging in there. And you could deploy into a bare metal servers, and then or you can do on a virtual machine or into a cloud where infrastructure as a service or platform as a service. Now I'm going to take a little step back up, and so since we talked about all the different SOA and ESB and all of that, in my role, I basically go to different sets of clients here in the US. So basically, I go in and help them first create an integration architecture, and then from there we implement software on top of it, right? So I wanted to give an overview of the different sets of architecture samples I've done in the past. So this is right now trending or more getting adopted in the field, where this is mostly cloud-based. It's not on. You could basically use interact with a traditional IT, which is on the right side, enterprise network, and then the cloud provider network, like you can do it on IBM Cloud, Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure or Amazon Web Services, like that. And different sets of public network who's interacting with this messaging pattern, right? So wherein the central part where you have your cloud application here, and then any of the services, cloud application, meaning I'm saying, you could do a JBoss, you could do a WebSphere, Liberty services like that. And you could deploy similar case microservices like WebSphere, Liberty, or any of these microservices here. And messaging hub is basically the MQ or enterprise service bus, and which basically connected to your traditional IT systems here, where you have safeguarded yourself here on the right hand side. Instead of in a public cloud network, you are on your private network, but your gateways connectivity, which can basically get these messages out inside your trusted network. And on the left side is basically how you interact with the system using your mobile app, or somebody logging onto the VPN and connecting to these services. This is one another pattern in banking sector we could use as how this message is basically handled here. You have in the central portion, you have the enterprise service bus, which does all of that routing, transformation, and all of that here. And it makes sure you're safely interacting with your backend system and all the security and all of that, availability, security, all of that is taken care. And this system basically, say for example, here in this example or sample, we use WebSphere app server, and different people who are logging onto their accounts, they first go here, and then from there, they're not directly, targeting the database or anything like that. They work with their application, and that application in turn goes to the ESB, and then does a put or get of messages, or even do the web services on the enterprise service bus and talk to the databases or to act to the backend systems, in this case DB2 on the mainframe, like that. And you different sets of, like, money transfer, NEFT, or any of the other mobile networks are all connected. You could basically do that pattern here. The other pattern I've done, this is one of end-to-end architecture, where it's for one of the nuclear client here, where they use a Maximo on the left-hand side as their JMS application, and it interacts with basically enterprise service bus here, and then the ESB and integration bus basically talks to the sends messages to the MS Azure cloud here. So the top portion is deployed onto one data center, and the bottom portion is deployed onto another data center. But most of the queues and queue managers, queues or subtopics, or the message flows, I'll get in a second in my subsequent slides, where we would be taking these messages from queue manager, and then the integration service bus consumes those messages and sends it out to the MS Azure. And it does it in a high availability fashion, where it uses CCTT, the channel table file, to send these messages. In a failure scenario, it basically goes 1, 2, 3 like that. It basically goes as, in a table row 1, row 2, row 2, like that. It connects to the queue managers. So that way, this system is always available. If I, for example, just in case, if somebody interacting with this Maximo system on the left side, and if I take down this whole server, and it basically fails over to the data center 2 and goes on with its business. So it's basically, it provides another high availability like that. In the enterprise service bus, when I talk about, it was a little bit 10,000 feet above level view. A little bit down view is basically you have a basic container as a queue manager, and the queue manager is tied to in this case another queue manager within the box, just to basically do a store and forward, like a guarantee type delivery. And ACE or IAB in this case is basically consuming this message, and there is sets of message flows deployed here, which basically caters for that message and then sends it to MS Azure. Okay, so the next one is a little bit about IBM MQ and IBM Integration Bus. So this is a little bit more of what it could do, how it's deployed right now. It's MQ is basically it's been in the field for uh, from 1996 onwards, so far I know, because 1996 Olympics was in Atlanta, Georgia. So that was the time frame when MQ was introduced. That time IBM used to basically co-sponsor Olympics. Even now also they do in the back end. But most of the systems were implemented by IBM. So I met a guy who basically worked on that type of a project, and he implemented MQ. So basically, so this has been there in the field, maybe 25 years now, I think, and it's an industry standard. So 85% of the Fortune 500 depends on IBM MQ. And then all of the top 50 banks use IBM MQ to send messages, receive messages, because IBM provides, the MQ provides, it's a simple how to do it, like many languages as I showed earlier, and it can be scalable like how the architecture I showed, and then it's connected and secure using TLS 1.2, 1.3 like that, and reliable, right? We say it's a assured delivery model. And basically, where else you can run MQ nowadays? Like this is, we are talking about in the cloud era, hybrid cloud era, right? So you could run anywhere, meaning traditionally, if you did on-premise, you could do all of this in your Linux, IBM Z, AIX, Windows, HP nonstop, any of these systems you can deploy MQ. And you could deploy in the cloud. You could deploy in Amazon Web Services Cloud or Azure or IBM Cloud. You could do the IBM Cloud Pack for integration. So that's the current trending one there, where we package most of the integration software in there. And then you could have IBM host all of this on these type of clouds, like IBM Cloud or Amazon Web Services. Now, we talked about MQ. Now, I want to give a little glimpse of what is inside those integration bus data flows, what we exactly do. That's one thing I want to give a overview, so that this is how it's been done in most of the places. When you deploy integration bus, IIB, it's a product, and within that you define input sources, and then you basically define output. In this case, one output target for failure, just to catch whether this message went through or not. Or you can basically do output target, and you could do a transformation. So, for example, if this is coming up with XML, and we transform that in this node, which is a compute node we call, and which computes, transforms that from here to different destination data format, just say, for example, COBOL copybook. So, and then sends it out. These two systems, it could be anything. So I originate from here as Windows system. I can go as a backend system as a mainframe. So it's basically one pattern, right? So it's like that. And this is the palette where what are all the things we could do using the IIB product, where we talked about earlier different sets of formats. So in this case, so we say WebSphere MQ is what type of endpoints you could have. And if you have your Java messaging service, what are all the endpoints you could do with that? And then if it is a HTTP protocol, HTTP input, reply, request, all of those you could do. And in the web services, plain old SOAP input and request. So right now they introduce asynchronous request response. So you put it in a not in a synchronous fashion. Generally, SOAP web services are all synchronous messages, right? You do a block read and then get the message back. Similar to that, some of the service component architectures are done here. And from the backend systems, you could interact with PeopleSoft, you could interact with SAP, which I've done in the past, many of these SAP integrations. One of the just very recent project I did for Pratt and Whitney, which is producing aircraft engines. It does mostly all of their messages are all SAP based, and they use MQ extensively, IAB extensively to do basically request reply or publish side messages, and it's all done through most of SAP request reply. And you can interact with CRM systems like Siebel or JD Edwards, like that. And if you're doing message aggregation, you could do basically fan in and fan out, right? So that's basically you send one message, but you're collating messages from many people and combining that as one message. That's basically, we call it as message aggregation. And from different systems, like you could do a .NET transformation, and you could do databases input output as well, or you could do file input output where somebody is sending messages as file, and you can basically take these write to a file systems like that. Or you could do a FTP messages, which is file transfer nodes using the FTP protocol, or you could do email like that. Those are all the different sets of palette in there. It says CSES IMS, so this is basically mainframe. So in here, where you could do directly from the integration service, you can basically send messages out to the CSES transaction server, and the transaction server basically does its interaction with the backend system and sends a reply back, and we can service that. So it opens most of the trusted systems out to the world in a safe and secure manner. So we can say like that. And this is basically your integration toolkit. It comes with integration toolkit where you do your message flow development. This is just one message flow where somebody is sending a file input, and I'm just routing that file input to, say, for example, as a SOP request message, as well as mapping that into a database call. So like that. This is one sample. So there are many things you could do, as I mentioned earlier. And this is coming with a runtime component. So the one with the toolkit where you develop, but you deploy that into a runtime environment where I've showed earlier, where the AS11 component, that's where it runs. And as and this is one of the GUI console where basically it gives you a node here. So like this is a node, and under that you have different sets of servers, meaning it's all we call it as data flow engines, or the integration servers, or even execution group. So that's what it says. Say in this case you have a coordinate request reply execution group, and then another one more execution group, and you could monitor these using how these messages are all going through, and you can drill down further and then take a look at it, your exact flow, how this is flowing through like that. And it gives you a nice output of, okay, what type of message rate coming into the system, and how long these messages took to basically execute in the system like that. And a little bit further on, the resource statistics, where when you say this is actually giving you a MQ Explorer view, where you have a queue manager. It says here, I hope this is clear there. So this is the queue manager, and the queue manager is attached to a particular IIB node, and then that shows up here. Similar pattern like in the previous screen we saw, where generally the message flows are deployed, as I mentioned, to the execution groups, and each execution group's resource statistics could be viewed or monitored using this. There are other external monitoring products as well. IBM provides, or even industry standard products, like IBM provides IBM Tivoli to monitor MQ and IIB, and you can find Wiley or other type of monitoring products to monitor these queue managers or the IIB servers, and then alert if they are basically going down or they are not responding, and people are basically getting alerted using email or cell phone alerts like that. So it's been extensive, as I mentioned, the top 50 banks uses this to transform and route on all of these messages. So they have to take care of it, right? So from the education perspective for the students and faculty and everyone, you could go to this link and you can start most on start with MQ and see what happens. And I'm giving more of in terms of what to do with that in this area, right? You could basically, the integration service bus, you can download as a developer edition. So it's a free edition. All of the palette nodes I showed, it's available. And you can basically, no time limitations at all. You can play around with that. And it's basically thoughtful, like, in 1 TPS per integration flow. So you deploy one integration flow, it just gives you one message, and then it transforms one message. But in actual bank or in another industry, it doesn't happen that way, right? It's something like you go to a bank and they have different sets of IAB integration nodes running. Under that, there may be 10 or 15 execution groups running, and they're all parallel. Parallelism is there for these messages. This is actually a developer edition, so accession through the user community. For example, mqseries.net, you can basically go there and get help from there. No formal IBM support. Other ways, basically, it's a single installation, and you can install it in Windows or any Linux platforms. This one is basically, I included this slide. This is just in the past year, almost. So you might be aware that IBM acquired Red Hat 18 months back. And Red Hat comes up with its own operating system and its own sets of services, Red Hat Satellite, Red Hat OpenShift, Cloud software like that. So what we did was basically, the current trend is most of them, they wanted to deploy this into container platform, like the Kubernetes based container platform. If you're not aware, Kubernetes is basically an open standard now. It was originally developed by Google, and now it's an open source software where many people are basically constituting their containers on there. And Red Hat OpenShift is basically based off of Kubernetes, and it's provisioning, it's a platform. And on top of it, we basically deploy enterprise messaging. So like the IBM messaging I had been talking about in the past. So MQ and IAB, in this case, App Connect, the ACE interface, is basically offered as one pack. It's called the IBM Cloud Pack for integration. It uses other things as well, like API Connect. So like if you are exposing microservices, how you basically going to offer this up to others to consume as API Connect. And app and data integration is what IBM Integration Bus is. And the enterprise messaging is MQ. And events is basically, it's another form of messaging, but it's all only events. And it's based off of Apache Kafka product, and IBM has IBM Event Streams as a separate product on top of that. And then you do a transfer for Aspera transfer. That's another for high-speed transfer, which is, you know, if you are transferring, say, 1 gig file from US to Europe, 1 gig file to US to Asia, or one gig file to US to India or Singapore, or what would be the time frame it can take? And Aspera reduces drastically using that fast technology in that area. Instead of, you know, for say, for example, 10 gig, if you're transferring from US to India, right, it will take probably maybe a 2-hour time frame. But using Aspera in both ends, so it reduces into minutes. It's like that. And then security using the IBM Gateway product. And this is actually, I included these two URLs for the larger audience to benefit, where you could, this is a URL where you can go to the integration bus, and there is area where you just click download and it's going to download a package that right here, so like 10.02 or whatever number they are right now offering. You could download that and install, you know, unzip and go. And this is MQ for developer as well. You could basically install MQ using this. Well, we've reached almost to the question and answer session. So I'll take a step back. Let's go for any type of question and answers. Rather, or others, how do you want it to? Do you want me to stop sharing the screen, right? Just
Yes,
want to
sir.
okay.
Any questions, participants? Participants, any questions? Nitya,
Yes, Sindhu, I'm here.
any questions, Nitya, from the participant side or from the faculty side?
Yeah,
Can I
Radha
get
sir.
any?
Yeah, Radha sir is coming on.
Okay, he's coming for a chat, joining for a chat.
Yes, he's coming on the screen.
Very good, very good. So that was an excellent presentation, sir. You were like, you know, detailing everything actually, because we have seen speakers who used to tell us like every, like, you know, very randomly pick something and the outer framework will be told. But you are someone like who is very detailed about small things and all. Very good presentation, sir.
Thank you. Yep.
I guess it's morning for you. You are feeling very tired or brisk.
I'm good. It's
Yeah,
early
good.
morning,
Okay.
so early morning wake up. Yeah, definitely freshened
What
up.
is the time, sir? Now, what is the time, sir, over there?
So right now 6:45 a.m.
சார் அதுதான் சார் எங்களுக்குலாம் மிட் நைட் நாங்கெல்லாம் இங்க அவ்வளவு நேரம் தூங்குவோம் சார் நாங்க. Okay. Sir Radha sir, meanwhile I'm getting any questions.
Yes.
I guess you both can have a chat where you can explore something and all. Because
Mohan. Yes. Yeah, of course. Yes, of course. I've got something to ask to Mohan.
okay, please proceed, sir.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Mohan, the session was very interesting,
Is your
very effective, and you are able to. Excuse me, there is a problem in.
yeah, there is some kind of lagging. Just take
Hello?
your time, sir. No problem. Take your time, Radha sir. Take your time.
I
Can you
can
hear?
hear. I can hear you.
Sindhu, meanwhile, we can play the video, right?
Yeah, meanwhile you can play the video, Nitya, so that both of them can get ready because Radha sir has got some issue in the network.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mohan sir, can you please excuse us?
Sure.
Yeah.
How about now? Is it okay now? Hello?
Yeah, I can.
Is
I
it,
can hear you.
Please
is it
wait,
okay
wait.
now? Is it okay now?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
okay, sir. Video is getting played. Please wait, sir. Once the
Okay.
video gets over, you both can carry on.
Madam, சொல்லுங்க.
So that is our college video, and I guess there is some issue in the audio of the video. So
Is it okay, clear now?
now we can start off the chat session. So anything if
Is
you
it?
wanted to share with Mohan sir, Radha sir, you
Yeah.
can carry on. The session is yours.
Mohan, is it clear now?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay. The session was very interesting and very innovative. It was very useful for the students as well as for the faculty members. We are able to learn many new directions in different technologies, and we are able to see the expertise knowledge that you have gained, and you are able to explore and you are able to share with us, and it's really a wonderful session for us. And I have got just one question to you. Of course, there is a pandemic situation right now, and the total job market is totally it is not in a smooth run right now. But in spite of that, if it is assuming that there is it is not it is as we are crossing the pandemic and we are coming back to normal, when we are in normal situation and in the forthcoming future, what you can suggest, what sort of technologies the students must the students from student side, the industries are expecting, what sort of expertise they are expecting in the forthcoming forthcoming future or very near future. So what is expected from the new generation or new outcoming students? Can you please explain on that so that it will be useful for the students who are in the life and they will be able to gather some good take home for them, please.
Sure. So from the field per se, right now the pattern is moving into mostly the enterprises want to save cost, so they wanted to offload most of their mundane topics into cloud. So either the public cloud or even into their own private cloud like that. That is one area where people can learn in terms of it generally, if you have Java in your curriculum, and you can basically expand that in a little bit and then provide containers to play around with to the students, so that way they get comfortable in there, so in your labs and stuff like that. So most of for education purposes, either IBM Cloud or Google Cloud or even the Amazon Cloud, they should have some playground areas or sandbox areas for the students to play with. So they can basically get comfortable and stage themselves for the upcoming challenge in the career field. That's one area. The other area I'm seeing is basically security, right? So in terms of messaging and another any type of message transfers, so you want to have type. I'm talking about cyber security in this case, where people needs to adopt and learn more. So those areas they can basically get insights into it while they are learning in their curriculum. Um, the other to get ready, right? So that way, if they are, say for example, from anybody who is actually doing a campus interview and absorbing students from the university, and for the first 6 months, um, whatever they learned in the college, it's kind of an alma mater, but uh, they got to extend and they got to do the day-to-day things with the job. But the organization like TCS or Wipro or any of the other integrators, so they basically have to train these students for 3 months or whatever time frame it takes for them to basically help them in their different sets of projects, deals, and stuff like that. So if a student can prepare himself while in a relaxed setting in the university with these like containers knowledge, with the cyber security knowledge, or any of the other areas, then he's basically differentiating himself, and that differentiation would definitely help him to further his career. And then he can basically go into go confidently and then achieve the things he wants to achieve in the industry. I hope that covered, Radha.
Radha sir, kindly unmute your mic.
Yeah, sorry. It's an excellent guidance you have given for the students. And one more last thing I want to ask you is, I'm an MCA student. I'm completing my MCA and coming out for the job market. Okay. As you said, there are some focused areas that could grip you towards further prospects, of course, right? But for gripping into it, what I should do? I want to grasp that opportunity, or I want to grasp that career. So what is the work I have to do? What effort I should put? What sort of effort I should put as an MCA student who has just finished my MCA and I'm getting into the job field. Can you please suggest, this could be a good advice for the students who is in the verge of completion of MCA also.
Well, it's, if I go back to my earlier job searching days, that's different altogether. So now it's a different ball game, right? Those days it used to be very few people in there. Now you have a umpteen number of people. So
Question Pathatan. Can you please suggest more tools?
hello, can you?
Hello?
Yes, sir, you can continue. Sorry, sir.
Okay, so basically from their perspective, I just come out and I'm not in the campus interview crowd, and I'm just starting myself on it. It's generally you go back, what sort of things you did in your university days, and draw from it. Even as of today, um, from my perspective, if I'm doing something in the morning, making a walk or even making a warm-up exercise, I always draw back from my alma mater, from Sacred Heart University or from Pachepa's days, where what we did and how I perfected, right? So that's one thing where incremental learning comes. That's one thing. So from the student's perspective on how to interact with the industry, um, generally, obviously communication skills and all the soft skills needs to be up to date, and they got to effectively communicate, while speaking and others. And that's how we built IT industry for the whole of India and for our youth, right? So without the communication skills, we may not be there. If Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai or anybody wouldn't have reached that position. So that's one thing which we always cherish. So at least we got to do that. That's one thing. The other one is basically prep themselves, right? Like when if I have to think, we used to basically read a lot about the latest trends and stuff like that. Or in terms of if I have resources, like I have proper laptop and others in there, I can basically do some of the apps myself and basically develop them rather than play games or watch TV or whatever. You do that to some extent, but um, do your days productively and develop something. Nowadays, to develop app, Apple app or Android apps doesn't take a lot of resources. You just develop those and basically showcase that to anybody you're going for an interview, right? Hey, I have my laptop, I have this, I did this, I was free for the past 3 months and I did this. This is what it does. And if you showcase, the guy is going to look at it and then say, hey, he has got a potential and we got to have him, whether it is one app or others. From the other side of the table, he's going to think and then say what value this person going to provide to the team. So definitely he'll be enlightened and basically trying to absorb, right? I've seen people basically use just a rudimentary Android phone and the Sensor Touch app or others. They can basically deploy an Android app and showcase. It shouldn't be necessarily you develop something. If it becomes a viral app, which is good, you're lucky. If it didn't become, that's fine. But you முயற்சி திருவினையாக்கும், right? Same thing.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
make an effort, and that effort is going to basically give you whatever effort you put, you're going to get
It will be recognized.
you'll be recognized.
Exactly. Very nice. Very nice. Excellent.
Right.
Very nice. Very motivational this explanation, actually. Thank you very much, Mohan.
Sure.
So, Sindhuja madam,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
sir. I
carry.
have one question from participants, sir. There is one
Yeah, please.
participant who has posted a question. The question is, suggest or recommend any learning path from IBM Technologies for the students. What is the latest technology you would recommend to students need to learn for their job opportunity?
I think from IBM perspective, so we are setting a stage for the cloud pack. It's all in the industry, but if you wanted to set from the IBM tools, is generally you start with the one which we had been talking about, MQ or IIB, and those are all the things you play. That's one from the middleware side of things. Of course, there's a lot of things IBM provides, right? In different sets of product. I'm not saying you go jump onto all of them, but at least to start with, do this, and then have a trending view that this could be deployed into the cloud and others. The other area I've seen is data science. So that is another area where students can basically learn also, and then set them up for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And it was a wonderful session also. If time has permitted, I just wanted to share a small story. I don't know whether after seeing you people together, a lot of knowledgeable people together, I wanted to share a small story with you. With your permission, Radha sir, Nitya, and Mohan sir.
Sure.
Carry on, Mom, carry on.
Yeah, if time is running out, no, just tell me, okay?
No issues, you carry on.
Yeah. Okay. This is an imaginary story. I don't know. I've just read it in an article where Sundaram Pillai and Gautama Buddha was two best friends, and they also had a group of friends together. Once, what happened? They all met in a place like this, a chatting session or something. At that time, Sundaram Pillai asked Gautama Buddha, "What is your greatest strength or power you have?" He was questioning at everyone. And like Gautama Buddha was still a student and he was into the path of enlightening. He was just like gaining few things and all. And even their friends also have got some few powers also. So a few of them were telling, one of them were telling, I can go to any place, I can run faster like a wind. So my power is my leg. The other one said like, I can make anything. I can make anything in my hands, in my own hands. I can give life to anything. So my hand is my power. And the other one said like, I can predict future, what is going to happen. So my mind is my power. And Gautama Buddha just blankly said like, I don't have anything. I just have some kind of thirst and hunger. And everybody was laughing. They don't understand what Buddha is trying to say actually. So they were all laughing at Gautam Buddha and they were asking, "What are you blabbering, man? What is the power you have? You wanted to enlighten. You wanted to do something, right? So what is your power?" And Gautam Buddha rightly said, like, my knowledge is the power. Because my knowledge and my mind is something like it asks for something. It always asks for something. It is always hungry. It is always thirsty. So the knowledge is the power. And now we are all in the 21st century, and we are all talking about technology. This technology is helpful to develop our knowledge. It is imparting one's knowledge to the other one, and it plays a vital role in learning and teaching also. So with this note, I am handovering the session to Sangeeta ma'am to render the vote of thanks.
Good evening all. I am Sangeeta, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Applications, On behalf of our Computer Application Department and organizers of this FDP program, it is my privilege for me to propose a vote of thanks in this occasion towards our President Sir, Engineer ACS Arun Kumar, for his continuous support for our event. On behalf of our department and organizers of this FDP program, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to the Honorable Speaker, Mr. S. Mohan Gandhi of the session, who has humbly accepted our invitation and took out his most valuable time of his busy schedule. I would also like to thank our Dean, HOD and additional HODs for their constant supports for this journey of our FDP. And come to the speaker, his valuable lecture on middleware and the technologies was very informative and valuable session that he explained about some of the ideas about Developer Edition, Red Hat and IBM Cloud Integration Bus concepts. I would like to thank all of the participants who made their active participation in this session. Once again, I would like to thank all of you for making this event successful with your contribution. Thank you, Sindhu.
Thank you, Sangeeta ma'am. Thank you so much. And Radha sir and Mohan sir, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge with us. And this is the right time we all need, because a lot of final year students are watching this program. So I hope the session will be very useful for them. Thank you so much for your wonderful time for us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Radha. Is that all good, right?
Participants' feedback, please, Sindhu.
Yes, participants, kindly wait for another couple of minutes. Your feedback link will be posted in your YouTube chat box. Katradhu kaiyalavu kallaladu ulagalavu. So with this note, I am signing off. This is Sindhu Char signing off from you people, and I'll be meeting you all in an exciting session one more time. Thank you so much from the team.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.